ducking, mother quacker.
It's time. I'm finally gonna do it, just so that I can trigger everyone. I'm going to do a full tier list of every single Pokemon game. At least, I think that's most of them on this list that I've got here, this tier list. I didn't make this originally, but then I realized that there were like 10 missing games, so I've put those in. But yes, this is a wonderful tiermaker.com tier list that we can go through. I've got the best, amazing, good, average, poor, and bad, which I think are enough. And then additionally, we've got the never played tab, which I'll put any that I've never played. But just for context, I've been playing Pokemon games literally since I was 0 years old. Like, the only reason I wanted to learn how to read was so that I could understand what my Pokemon Red game was actually saying. That is not a meme. That is genuinely how sad I was, even at the ripe old age of 0. So, yeah, I used to read the newspaper and everything just so that I could read my Pokemon game. So that is my introduction here. And there are a few of these games here that I have never played before, a couple that I can't really tell what they are, to be honest. But I guess we'll just jump straight in. Pokemon, I am a massive fan of Pokemon in general. But I guess we will go from here. So this very first one here, I'll be honest, it looks like a Generation 3 thing. I have no idea what that is. So great start. Then we've got Pokemon Art Academy. You know what? I did actually use this and I thought that it was quite cute. Not really a gamey game as such. But I think it's really quite a nice option for like kids and things like that. So I'm going to put that one at average. I think it does what it set out to do. And it's a nice little difference. Pokemon Battle Revolution. This game, I adored this game. But to be fair, it's not like it has a proper story or anything like that. But I guess comparing it to other Pokemon game standards, I think that even though I'm putting Pokemon Battle Revolution in good and I like brought over my Diamond team over into that game and I loved it, you know, I have to be at least somewhat critical of the fact that there was no real story or anything like that. But it's still an amazing experience overall, despite, you know, the other parts being lacking. So I'm going to put it there. Pokemon Treta, I never really played, so I'm going to put that one in there. What is this? Is this Pokemon Typing Adventure, I think it is? The one with the Pikachu and then, like, the Rowlet on his head? I'm going to mark that as never played just because I'm not sure which one it is. I'm going to assume that it's Typing Adventure, but I don't recognize it. And this one, I also don't recognize that one. It's in Japanese. Maybe I've played it, but I don't know that. Pokemon Channel, my god. Now, I adore Pokemon Channel. I think I played through the game about 15 times because I have the special Jirachi version, which meant that if you finish the game and do all the extra stuff, then you can get your hands on Jirachi and then you can send it to your games, and then I could send it to my like DS games. I played Pokemon Channel so many times. It does have some annoying points, and it's not like a massive story like I mentioned before, but I really do think that Pokemon Channel is amazing, and I am still waiting for another release. If this Pokemon Channel gets released today with a remake, like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX, I think the only thing that could potentially beat that is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle Chow Gardens remade as a collectathon game. I really don't think anything could beat it. I really don't. So I'm popping that one in amazing. Then we've got Pokemon Colosseum. And, you know, to be honest with you, I do think that while Pokemon Colosseum had a lot of problems, I think it was very unique. And I still remember that game to this day, like every single individual battle, all the troubles and everything. So it probably sits somewhere between good and amazing for me, but I think amazing is more fitting. Pokemon Colosseum is such an experience, and compared to some of the other games, it was actually quite difficult. And same with DX, which should be here somewhere, or XD, not DX, XD. But yeah, I think that's in here somewhere as well. Pokemon Conquest. Now, Pokemon Conquest was a very different game. Although I wouldn't say it was one of my favorites ever, I think it, you know, definitely had a really nice art style. I like the Nobunaga stuff that was going on and all of the, like, trainer pairings. So I'm going to pop that one over there in good. Now, Next one that we've got here, Pokemon Crystal. This is actually the only main series game that I never played. I played every single other one. The only reason I didn't get Crystal is because this game was such a pain to find way back in the day. I don't know if you were around for it, but Pokemon Crystal, I just could not seem to find it anywhere. And now I could find it these days, but they charge a fortune for it. And to be honest, I don't really like Gen 2 that much. So that is the only one of the main series games that I never, ever played. Now we've got Pokemon Dash, and you know, Pokemon Dash is a very weird game. It's a DS game, and you sort of like flick your stylus to try and make the Pikachu go. It was very annoying at times, but this is another game that really stuck out to me, and I still remember it very fondly. So I'm going to pop that one in good, even though I think it has a couple of problems here and there. I think generally it was a really unique sort of experience and fun for what it was. So, Detective Pikachu, I never actually played it. I might do at some point, but it just didn't seem like that interesting to me. And then there was the movies as well, but I don't know. Detective Pikachu just never really stuck out with me too much. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. So I really, really loved Gen 4. Gen 4 was my favorite generation for so long until Gen 9 happened, believe it or not. So I really did love Diamond and Pearl era. And I know that some people are going to be like, what? How could you do that? But I'm genuinely putting these games in amazing because playing them for the first time, and Generation 4 is when all of the online features finally went live for Pokemon. So Generation 4, Diamond and Pearl was so different because suddenly I went from, because I used to travel a lot, so I didn't have like a designated group of friends that I always had, so I could never really trade with anyone during Gen 3 because Gen 3 was still link cable era. Then Gen 4 hit and it's like no matter where you are, you can trade with anyone in the world. And for me, I think that that was genuinely an amazing increase or upgrade for Pokemon in general. It will never ever top, I think it would be really difficult anyway to top the differences between Gen 3 and Gen 4. Just how much it blew up in terms of how good these games were for their time. And so for the online features, and also I did really like those Pokemon, I'm popping that in amazing. Now, Pokemon Duel, that is the mobile game, and I did upload a few videos on this actually. I think that Pokemon Duel is like any mobile game. I would say it's more enjoyable than a lot of mobile games. I'm gonna pop that one in average. I don't think it was bad per se, but it didn't really have anything special going on for it either. And then next we have Pokemon Emerald, and I replayed Emerald many, many times. I'm going to pop Emerald in amazing as well. It's just back in the sort of Game Boy era, and when I was playing all my DS games, I went through those Generation 3, Generation 4 games a stupid amount of times. And even to this day, I think I would happily like start up a new Emerald playthrough and play it again. I really do. And obviously Emerald is sort of the improved version on Ruby and Sapphire, so I think that Emerald definitely deserves this amazing spot. And then we've got Fire Red and Leaf Green, which also same generation, Gen 3. I actually loved these games so much, replayed them many, many times. You know, all of the improvements that they made on the original Gen 1, absolutely adored these two games. So they're going there. Then we've got Pokemon Gold and Silver. And now, I'll be honest, I did not really enjoy Generation 2 that much. Not that I think that they were bad for their time. If I replayed them now, yes, they'd be lacking quite a lot, just like Gen 1 would. I'm actually going to pop these in average just because I didn't think that they were fantastic. I think they were the worst generation out of all of them, just in terms of like, if we consider it in actual release order anyway. I think Gen 2 was the one I didn't care for the most. Then we've got Pokemon Go. This is a difficult one, right? Because Pokemon Go Fundamentally, I don't mind the concept, but it is a mobile game, and then they went and did mobile game stuff to it. They monetized the hell out of it. It's absolutely just smothered with hackers now, and I think because of the way that they managed it, I think I have to put it in poor. Now, I'll always remember the day one release of Pokemon Go and what it did to everyone. I was playing it for like the first couple of years as well, but I think the way that this has been managed, if I have to mark it right now, I just don't think it's very good. So I'm putting that one in poor. Hey You Pikachu. Oh, this one upsets me so much. You know, when I was a kid, Hey You Pikachu was one of the games that I wanted more than anything. And just like with Crystal, it was so difficult to get a hold of that game. And still to this day, I've always wanted to get, you know, the actual setup. Because, you know, you could play it on like an emulator or something, but Hey You Pikachu, you need the mic setup to speak to Pikachu. Hey You Pikachu is like the predecessor to Pokemon Channel. And again, I loved Pokemon Channel so much. So Hey You Pikachu, I want this in like Switch 2. If it has a microphone you can speak to, please give us Hey You Pikachu 2. Please, Nintendo. I alone would spend stupid amounts of money on merchandising and everything for that game. But for now, I'm going to mark that as one that I've never played. Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Now, this one, because of the way that the categories are named, is going to seem a little bit strange, but I'm actually going to put Heart Gold, Soul Silver as the best. Because yes, I said that I didn't really like Gen 2 in terms of release. But I have to say that Heart Gold and Soul Silver was so incredibly good that it made me like Generation 2. You know, it just had so many cool quality of life changes. I think the entire art style, the areas, they just looked beautiful, especially for what it was like at the time. Then you had the Pokewalker. Oh my god, I did so much walking or like just doing... Okay, that is a weird hand movement out of context. But please, imagine I've got the Pokewalker in my hand, and that is what you would do. You would get the Pokewalker and you would just do this with your hand over and over again until you got the number of steps that you wanted. And again, more trading, everything. There was so much good in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. If you never played them, you should absolutely play them. Even today, I think that they stand up even now as great games. There was the fight with Red at the end, classics. So I think that as a like remake for something, they were absolute. That is how you do a remake right there. Then we've got Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. So these games, I had a very love-hate relationship with these games. I have to say that I did like the improvement and the riding features in these games. I'm going to put them as average overall because, again, I didn't think that the games were fantastic. I didn't have a never-ending list of problems with them, but I never really felt compelled to go back and play them again. But I did go and do some shiny hunting, which I didn't mind doing some shiny hunting. And again, I really liked seeing the overworld Pokemon was the big upside. I think if you put the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee sort of riding and stuff like that into another game, I think that would be really good. But as standalones, they were kind of I could have not played them, if that makes sense. Then we've got Pokemon Link Battle. I don't think I specifically played Link Battle. I played some of the other, like, of these style of games. I've forgotten what they're called now, but I don't think I played Link Battle, so I'm going to mark that one there. Magikarp Jump. You know what? For a mobile game, Magikarp Jump is one of the very, very few mobile games that I would actually have recommended for someone to play. Purely because it was just... there was nothing to it apart from just jumping Magikarps. So because it's not something that was like, you know, there wasn't a whole lot to it, no massive story, I'm going to mark it as average, purely because, again, it's literally just Magikarps jumping, and that is it. So it's not, there's not a lot to it, but I still think of this very fondly. Out of every mobile game, it didn't feel like you had to spend money on anything. You could just play it, have fun, collect shiny carps, and that was it. It was just a little bit of fun. Now, Pokemon Minis here, I played these via Pokemon Channel. And, you know, they are very basic and bare bones in what they are, so purely for that reason, I'm going to mark it as poor. I don't think it's actually, like, poor quality, if that makes sense, but, you know, compared to some of the other games that we've got now, they're just kind of whatever. And the fact that you can play them within Pokemon Channel if you want to, but, you know, it just makes me want to play Pokemon Channel more when I do that. But either way, I'm just going to put it as there. Maybe it should be an average, but I'm going to leave it in there for now. Pokemon Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby. So these two games were another remake, and I know that some people really love these games. I'm going to leave it in good for now, and I'm leaving it in good purely for the fact that I think some of the 3D modeling and some of the frame rate issues that I used to have just kind of held it back quite a bit. And I have to say that compared to Heart Gold, Soul Silver, it really didn't capture my interest anywhere near as much. I don't know, because I quite enjoyed Generation 3, like Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, but Omega Ruby, and that, it was kind of, yeah, it was fine. So, yeah, I guess good pretty much sums that one up. I actually have no idea what this is. It looks like some sort of handheld Pikachu device in Japanese. I don't know what that is. Pokemon Picross. I remember playing this, but not very much because I got very bored. So I'm going to mark that one as poor. Pokemon Pinball. Okay, this one was an absolute banger. The Ruby and Sapphire one in particular. Hell yes, Pokemon Pinball was great. Like, it's pinball at the end of the day, but it's such a unique take on pinball. I reckon a remade version of this would go hard. They could even, like, monetize it if they wanted to. As long as most of it was, like, free to play, accessible, 100%, I think that a remade, like, new age Pokemon pinball. And plus, the fun of pinball was collecting every Pokemon in the pinball style. But imagine now, we've got over 1,000 Pokemon. Imagine having 1,000 Pokemon worth of pinball to play. Oh, you could have people just, like, their entire lives just dedicate to Pokemon pinball. I think it's such a good idea. Just saying. But, anyway. Next one we've got is base Pokemon pinball, and I do think that this one was still really good. I think that the Ruby and Sapphire one was an improvement. But I do think that Pokemon Pinball, just the general one, is still a really good memory overall. Oh boy, then we've got what I would say was probably one of the best games that they have ever released in the form of Pokemon Platinum. Oh, Pokemon Platinum was everything from Gen 4 with those, like, enhanced online features, and then they enhanced them again. Like, they brought out new stuff, they had new community areas, everything. And obviously the changes with the distortion world and all of that. Pokemon Platinum is absolutely up there with some of my best ever memories with Pokemon. 100% without a doubt, Platinum is one of the best that they ever released for me. And now we've got this Pokemon Mystery Dungeon that had the 3D modeled Pokemon. I know what it is, and I watched tons of content on these three, but I never actually got to play them myself because I believe that they were Japanese exclusives. I really enjoyed watching them because I'm a massive Mystery Dungeon fan, but yeah, I didn't actually play them myself, so I'm not going to give it a rating. And then moving straight on, we have, the other game that I used to say was my favorite Pokemon game of all time. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. I've never had an easier, like, the best of the best pick in my life. Explorers of Sky was brilliant. It was like the story of Explorers of Time and Explorers of Darkness, but then all the extra stuff, all the mega dungeons. This game was, like, for the story, it finally gets you invested for a Pokemon story. And then you've got all of those dungeons, that you've got the Chatot and the Guild. Explorers of Sky is magnificent. So I'm leaving that one in as the best. And so Time and Darkness being sort of the game before that, I'm gonna leave as amazing, purely because I do think that Explorers of Sky was just, you know, an even better version of it. But Explorers of Time and Darkness, when I played them, absolutely amazing games. But maybe now you could just play Explorers of Sky and be fine without playing the other two, but, you know, playing them in release order, I played Time and then Sky. That's something that you'll never get back. It was such a good moment. Then we've got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity, and while I did enjoy this, I have to say that I didn't really care for it all too much. I think that Gates to Infinity was fine, but they just didn't really hit the same as some of those first initial releases, but I think it was still good overall. Then we've got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue and Red. On release, I fell in love with Mystery Dungeon because of those games. Again, the initial story, you're basically like someone forced out of your home because of they assume that you're causing all of these natural disasters and everything. It was a very, very engaging story and something that you'd never really seen with Pokemon before that. So definitely amazing games overall. Then we've got Pokepark. So we've got the base Pokepark and Pokepark 2. I'm actually going to pop both of these games into good because I wouldn't say they were quite as crazy as, say, you know, the Mystery Dungeon games, but I really enjoyed them regardless. Like, I've been waiting for a Pokepark remake for years now. I would be so happy with Pokepark 3. If they said Pokepark 3 is coming out next week, I would be a happy girl. So, I mark them as good. I think they're close to amazing. At least Pokepark 2 was really fun, but I think they could do even better going forward. Then we've got base Pokken. I think I actually put Pokken in here again at some point because I didn't see it, but either way. Pokken Tournament, I think overall was a good game. I can't say that I got as invested into it as I did for like Smash Brothers, for instance. But I think it's still a very enjoyable experience overall. If you like fighting games, you can have a lot of fun with Pokken Tournament. Then we've got Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. This was another one that I did enjoy quite a bit, and actually I'm going to put Puzzle League in the same as well. I think they were both quite good overall. Again, there's not really too much else to them apart from just puzzling, but I think that they were a lot of fun to play at the time. Then we have Pokemon Quest. So when Pokemon Quest released, I actually had a lot of fun with this game. I played it multiple times and I think it released on multiple platforms as well, and I did play it on more than one platform. I think that Quest is a game that's worth playing if you just want to have some like nice, simple fun, nothing too crazy or strenuous, but nothing too much more to it than that. I like the designs of the Pokemon. I've got like little soft toys of them in that Quest design as well, but it's a nice little memory and I think like the kids would probably really like it. And then we have Pokemon Ranger. So this Pokemon Ranger in particular, I will say that I will leave it in good. That's Guardian Signs, isn't it? The one with the Pichu with the ukulele. I think it was fun overall and it was more of that Pokemon Ranger sort of formula. I can't say that it was like did too much different from the previous games, which, speaking of which, I might trigger some people by doing this. I'm actually going to put Shadows of Almia as amazing. I don't know why, but Shadows of Almia just sort of stuck out to me more than the others. I don't know, it just sort of vibed with me a lot more. Maybe just because I like Gen 4, just in general. And then base Pokemon Ranger, I think, as a concept at the time, it was like, whoa, this is really cool. I'm going to mark it as good just because, again, we've got Shadows of Almia and the other Ranger, which we can sort of compare to. And I'd say I think good works for them overall. You know, the stylus stuff, and sometimes it was very annoying playing that game. But again, new Pokemon Ranger with new age technology. Just saying, I think it would be brilliant. Then we have Pokemon Red and Blue, and then we've got Red and Green. So I think as a whole for Gen 1, you know, obviously they were the start of the concept. And if you'd never played a game like them before, yeah, they would have come out and seemed really, really good. But because we've had so many games since, I'm going to be comparing these games to what we have now. And so purely for that reason, I'm actually leaving both of these in average. I enjoyed Pokemon Yellow a little bit more, to be honest, and I think that's in this list somewhere, but I'm marking these original Red and Blues as just average because that was like the baseline for everything, and I think they did get better over time. Then we've got Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire versions. Ooh, I think that this definitely sits somewhere between good and amazing. I mean, I've got Emerald in amazing. I think I'm going to leave Ruby and Sapphire in good for now. Purely because I think that Emerald was a little bit better, and overall I did play those games a ton. But at the same time, all of the water traversal and everything like that wasn't the most fun. So I'm going to mark that one as good. Then we've got Pokemon Rumble Blast, and this game I did have fun with. I am going to mark it as average because I don't think it was like the most enjoyable Pokemon game I've ever played, but I think you could definitely still play it now and just, you know, generally enjoy it. And then we've got Rumble Rush as well, which I'm also going to mark as average because, well, for very similar reasons. Pokemon Rumble U, I never got to play. I never owned a Wii U or this game. So I'm marking that one as never played. And then we've got Pokemon Rumble World, which I kind of remember. Did I play this? I don't think I did. So I'm going to mark that one as never played. And then we've got base Pokemon Rumble. And you know what? For base Pokemon Rumble, I'm going to mark that one as good. Because that one really stuck with me. I love those designs. You know, they brought out trading cards for the Pokemon Rumble Pokemon. I really enjoyed that when it released. So, fight me. Then we've got Pokemon Shuffle. I think Pokemon Shuffle very much felt like mobile-esque gamey, like mobile gaming-esque. I'm going to mark that one as average. It did what it set out to do, but there was nothing too amazing about it, so I'm leaving that one there. Pokemon Snap. My god. I never thought that a concept so simple could be so enjoyable. Pokemon Snap was an amazing game. It's literally just imagine going out on a zoo trek, but you get to take pictures of your favorite pocket monsters. Like, well, there's a Gyarados in a big waterfall, or you've got the Magneton that's in front of you and stops you from continuing. I remember the final boss fight with the Mew where you've got to throw stuff at it in the like Rainbow Road-esque area. Oh, Pokemon Snap was such a I was so happy when they released a new Pokemon Snap. You have no idea. I waited that many years for a new Pokemon Snap like some other people. It was such a moment. But I adored Pokemon Snap. To this day, I'll always remember that Charmander song. That Charmander song that played in the menu, that made me cry tears. That was a sad song. Then next up we have Pokemon Stadium 2, and I really enjoyed this game, but at the same time it had some very annoying fights, it had some annoying features. The actual, you know, multiplayer stuff, I used to play the hell out of Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Stadium 2 purely for the multiplayer games. Like, that's why I played it mainly. So purely because I didn't think the battling was too fun, I actually really preferred like Pokemon Colosseum or let's say the Pokemon Battle Revolution. I enjoyed that more. So purely for that reason, I'm going to mark both of the Stadium games as good. But if we were just looking at the multiplayer games, I think I'd pop those as amazing. Like the Scyther one, the Chansey one. Classics. Next up, we have Pokemon Sun and Moon. And I know that some people glaze these games. This was a generation after the previous generation that also I felt kind of meh about, to be honest. I think that they are good games overall, but I didn't really enjoy them anywhere near as much as I did Generation 3, Generation 4, or even Generation 5. I feel like Generation 6, 7, and 8 actually was like the kind of the download period for me for Pokemon main series games, and then they really brought it back with Generation 9. So Sun and Moon I'm marking as good, but you know, they still had all the online features and some good quality of life changes, but not really too much more for me. Then we've got Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. And again, I did play this and I thought that it had a lot of good going on for it, but it just didn't entice me like the first few Mystery Dungeon games did. It felt like, oh, it just didn't really have that same cool vibe about it, and the story wasn't quite as engaging for me, but I still think it's a good game overall, just not the same as that. Pokemon Sword and Shield, like I just mentioned previously, I kind of was falling out of love with main series Pokemon games. I still played them day one. I still played them and finished the Pokédex immediately for all of those gens. But Sword and Shield had a lot of problems. The raiding, I thought, was awful. I know that some people will fight me on that, but I thought the whole raiding system was really quite poor during Sword and Shield. I thought that some of the enemies, or like NPCs that you face, like, you know, the sword bit, just, I did not enjoy them at all. So there were some things that I think were good about the generation, but overall for the main series games, I was kind of by the end. I didn't really care once I'd finished it. I was kind of just, I put it down and didn't really look back. I never felt enticed to play Sword and Shield ever again. So it is what it is. And then we've got the original Pokemon trading card game. I think that it's okay overall. This was an alright one. I think at the time I would have preferred playing the actual physical card game in person rather than the actual Game Boy Color game. But, you know, it was definitely good for introducing the TCG in a digital space, which I think was a good thing. I actually don't know what this game is. I can't read it. It's in Japanese. It's something about the DS. It's not the DS, you know, where you could put Pokemon around your room, is it? It doesn't really look like that. I'm going to assume it's a different trading card game, so I'm not going to touch that one. Then we've got the trading card game online, and I'm going to mark this one as average too, because while I think that, you know, I think it was really good that, again, they had an online platform for it, the TCG online just didn't really have very much going for it, to be honest. It's kind of like it was just there, and you could use it with your code cards if you wanted to, but I actually don't know what game this is either, so I'm going to mark that one as never played. Pokemon Trozai, or I don't actually know how you say it, Trozai, I'm going to say. I really enjoyed this when it released. I'm going to mark it as good. But I think for a little puzzly game, I actually really enjoyed this one. I'd say I enjoyed it a lot more than some of the other ones that they had. So that's why I'm marking it here. And then we've got Learn with Pokemon Typing Adventure. I never actually owned this. It did look like a lot of fun, but I never owned it. And then we've got Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And again, I'm probably going to trigger some folks with this, but I'm going to leave this one in good. Again, the whole Sun, Moon, even Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, I just kind of didn't really care very much by that point. Like, I owned all of them, I played all of them, but I just didn't really care for it all that much. So I'm leaving it in good for now. Then we've got Pokemon Black and White, and to be honest with you, initially I wasn't enjoying Gen 5 all that much. And then I started playing the hell out of it, so I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to leave Pokemon Black and White in good, and I'm going to leave Pokemon White and Black 2 as amazing games. Just because, again, it was sort of like an improvement on the initial base games, lots of stuff to do, lots of extra things. Obviously, if we're considering the financial aspect of did you really need to buy Black and White if you're going to play Black and White 2, I don't think you did, to be honest. So there's kind of some debate there to be had, but I'm gonna leave it as this because I think this is, even though Black and White, maybe it's somewhere between good and amazing, so maybe this isn't the most accurate thing ever, I'm gonna mark it like this for now. And then we've got Pokemon X and Y. Pokemon X and Y, even though I absolutely loved Yveltal and I liked like the, what is it, like the Pokemon touching. Yeah, another weird out of context quote, I know. But yeah, the Pokemon stuff that you could do on screen, what is it, I've forgotten what it's called. I really enjoyed that, but I think that overall, compared to the other main series games, I can only really mark it as good. I don't think it was something absolutely amazing, but it wasn't horribly bad either. Then we've got Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Now, XD, I actually didn't play for many, many years. It was actually, was it last year, where I finally got to play Pokemon XD? And again, it's like Pokemon games, but actually challenging for once, like just as a base game. Things that are difficult to get through. I think because of the amount of time between when I played it and some of the other games, I struggle a little bit to sort of give it an actual rating, but I'm going to leave this right next to Pokemon Colosseum. I think that Colosseum and XD just had such a different vibe about them, and I would absolutely love a remake of these two games. Any day, if they have a remake for either of them, both of them, or a new one entirely, I think that would pop off. Then we've got Pokemon Yellow, and as I mentioned before, I actually did enjoy Pokemon Yellow a bit more than I did base Red and Blue. So I'm marking that one as good, and I know that Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are in average, but I think that just for all the special Pikachu stuff for that particular generation, I think that one stood out, whereas Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee was kind of okay. And then we've got Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And this one is also very difficult for me to put in a tier, because I said that Generation 9 is my favorite generation, and that's based on the Pokemon themselves and, you know, the improvements that they made to the models and stuff like that. But I'm also very aware of the problems that Scarlet and Violet have. So, you know, the FPS problems, the environments that look like arse, and then you've got the raiding system that, while it was improved from Sword and Shield, it is very buggy right now. But if we're including Teal Mask and all of the DLCs, I'm going to leave Scarlet and Violet as amazing, because I had tons of fun. You know, especially with the DLCs that let you throw out any of your Pokemon and you can run around with them. Loved it. I love that for my Quackabelle so much. So I'm putting it in amazing with like a big asterisk of, yes, it's great, but it has some really bad problems that really need to be addressed. Please, if they'd have addressed all of those and improved the overall like environmental graphics, I think it easily could have been one of the best games ever made by Pokemon standards. Anyway, next up we've got My Pokemon Ranch, and you know what? Even though I've criticised some other games for just being, you know, bare bones, this is what they are, there isn't really too much more to them, I think that I'm still going to mark My Pokemon Ranch as good, because I love this game. If you don't know what My Pokemon Ranch is, it was a WiiWare game, and essentially all of your Generation 4 Pokemon from like Diamond, Pearl or whatever, you could go and transfer them into My Pokemon Ranch, and then see these like little almost chipified versions of them running around and doing stupid stuff. I think that My Pokemon Ranch was just so much fun. And plus, you could go and do some special collecting missions, and they'd get you to like transfer 1,000 Pokemon in there, and then you'd be able to get a Mew. Or I think there was a Manaphy. Was there a Manaphy in there as well? I can't remember, but there was definitely a Mew. And that was the main easiest way to get a Mew in that generation. And of course I did it. I loved it. I caught so many Staravias and Bidoofs in Gen 4 just to trade to My Pokemon Ranch. Like, I could go and open up my Wii right now and open up my current My Pokemon Ranch. I logged into there recently, and it had been so many years, and they were like, wow, it's been like many thousands of days since we last saw you. I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. You can't actually download this game anymore, but because I have it pre-installed in my Wii, it is like a relic of my past. I never want to lose that save file. I'd be so upset if I lost it. So I'd say from an enjoyment perspective, My Pokemon Ranch is maybe like way up here in like amazing, but because I know that all that it is Pokemon running around a ranch that you transfer in, I can't give it a higher rating than good just on a technical level, you know. Then we've got Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I will be honest, I genuinely think that Legends Arceus brought me really back into... Some people argue whether it's a main Pokemon game or not. I believe officially they consider it a mainline game. But Legends Arceus was such a different sort of game compared to what we've been seeing for so many years. They completely changed the whole formula. And I mean, we've got Legends ZA coming out not too long away from now, actually, this year. But Legends Arceus, I played it. And I instantly played it again a second time, like from start to finish. And it is really difficult to find games where you'll like play it through once and then instantly play it through a second time again. And I enjoyed every single second of my first and my second immediate after playthrough. I liked the post-game fights, everything about it. So I can only hope that they keep improving these games. ZA is more city-based, and I'm curious to see how they can make it feel quite substantial given the setting for the new game, but I am absolutely looking forward to it. And then we've got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. You know, it wasn't an original story, but I think that this is basically the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, but just betterified. Its quality of life changes were amazing, but it was the same story, just better. And when this came out, I instantly played it, instantly finished it, and I was like, wow. Yeah, I enjoyed playing that again. Maybe some people who think that it should sit in this amazing category rather than the best, but I think that if we got an Explorers of Sky remake, this would absolutely trump the Rescue Team DX one. But I think that both of them you could compare to each other in terms of how good they feel to play. Then next up we've got Pokemon Box, and I never actually got this game because I could never find it. It was for the GameCube, and basically I think that Pokemon Box is basically my Pokemon Wrench, but the GameCube era version of it. So again, you could go and store Pokemon in this game's box system and get free rewards from it. And I really wanted this game, but I never had the opportunity to actually get it. So it is what it is. And then we've got the new Pokémon Snap. Oh, I loved this game when it came out as well. I'm not gonna mark it as the best because I think it was like just maybe a level below that. But the new Pokémon Snap, it brought back all of those memories from the past of that original Pokémon Snap game. I adored it. Absolutely adored this game. And I'm looking forward to new Pokemon Snap 2. Please. I would really enjoy that for the new generation Pokemon. Gen 9 Pokemon with new Pokemon Snap. I'd be in love. Okay, then next we have Pokemon Cafe Mix, and this game I actually never got around to playing. I've realised that Pokemon Sleep isn't in here either. If Pokemon Sleep was here, I think I would be marking this as poor. Purely because I don't think it works right, and having to keep your phone on all night generally isn't advised. So if I had Pokemon Sleep here, I would also be putting it here in this poor category. I know that it can be fun collecting things, but I just didn't dig the whole collecting cycle for Pokemon Sleep. Guess it's just not my thing. And then I mentioned before, well, we already listed Pokken, so I'm going to mark that one as here just because I put it somewhere else. And then Pokken Tournament DX. I think the overall Pokken Tournament DX still was quite a good game overall, so I'm leaving it in this good section. So, that is the full tier list. I can't remember if there are any that have been missed off of here, but just to take a quick look at all of the options here, this is what we have from the best, amazing, good, average, and then just a couple in poor. I've not put any in bad because I don't think I've ever actually played a Pokemon game that I would consider bad. I think purely because it is like, you know, the biggest franchise of all time and the amount of effort they put into it, I think that a lot of these games just are really quite good on average. Most of them are good, if not pretty great overall for like a collecting game. The graphics are very much lacking on the Pokemon front overall. you know, they've got like thousands of models that they have to put into their games. But I think that if one day they actually improve the graphics, like we just had Clair Obscure, for instance, and we had some other major releases recently with massive graphical improvements. I think if Pokemon ever gets to the point where it's got graphics as good as some other mainstream video games, I think that Pokemon games could easily become like some of the best games ever if they do that, and just improve some of the story aspects as well, because I know that they try and make them primarily like games that kids will enjoy, but also like older people now. Like, I've grown up with Pokemon. I've been playing Pokemon games for 26 years. So I think that if they just had a more advanced or more mature story with like new age graphics, it would absolutely pop off, even with an even bigger mainstream audience than they already have. But I'm looking over this one last time just to say, is this really what your list should look like? And I have to say, if I was gonna change anything on this current view, it would probably be like, I'd probably put Pokemon Channel like that. I probably would. I can't think of any others that I would potentially put up there into like amazing category, or maybe I'd put Pokemon Battle Revolution in amazing, because I really did enjoy it. I just know that there wasn't really too much else to it story-wise. And then maybe I would put Pokepark 2 there purely from an enjoyment standpoint. But I'd say that barring a couple of those changes there, that's pretty solid for how I feel. And maybe I would put Pokemon Black and White also in amazing, but I think it's somewhere between the two. But yeah, I would say that generally this is what my list would look like. Have I severely triggered you? Do you agree with a lot of these picks? Did you have the same experiences that I did? Again, it's all my opinion. I'm not saying that this is an objective thing, because everything about tier lists like this is subjective. But I have to consider my own enjoyment, nostalgia as well. I'm trying to factor that in, because yes, sometimes we remember things to be a little bit better than what they actually are. But yeah, and with those poor options, again, Pokemon Go, I think it started off as a good concept, but they sort of ruined it. And then the other two were just kind of really meh. Not as average as these ones, but very meh overall. But anyway, I'm happy to trigger people every day with my preferences. And if there are any other Pokemon games, which I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if there are any others, well, then I can't remember what they are. So for now, we're gonna just stick with this one as it is, I suppose. But I guess for now, thank you for joining me on this this tier listing, and I hope to see a lot of these in remakes soon enough. Pokemon Pinball, I'm looking at you.